All right, welcome back to Locked in My Office. I'm Shane Oberleuer, and in this episode, I'm talking with Anders Smitterberg and Alex Beltz. They've both been students of mine in the past, both great people. In this episode, we talk, like all the rest of our episodes, about all sorts of things, ranging from like, what does a sauna mean to you, to some of the biggest mistakes that they've made. They're both about to graduate. To also, always have that turn of more impactful things that are happening on your life, like, having a grandfather with dementia and dealing with that. And it seems like personal injury just always shows up. I suppose it's interesting, but yeah, definitely some personal injury. And also, there were some questions that were thrown at me that had me disclose a little bit about my time in graduate school and some of the struggles that I faced. So I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, welcome to whatever episode, I already lost count. We're trying something different this time. It's I invited Mr. Anders Smitterberg, who you can see over here, and he got to invite his friend, who is
Alex Beltz.
Yeah, Alex Beltz. So it's the first one with 3 people on it, and I'm thinking, we'll see if it goes. If it blows up in our face, then I don't know. We'll go back to the 2-person model.
I've got a good feeling.
Yeah, I've got a good feeling. Yeah. So we've got Alex and Anders here, and before we get started, just to cover my butt, I got to tell you guys on the air that you're not protected from any sort of incrimination, right? So, or self-incrimination, so whatever you say, you can still get in trouble for. 2, if you're in danger, I have to report it in some way, shape, or form. And then 3, anything you guys say or I say is not necessarily the reviews of Michigan Tech. So now we covered our butts. Let's talk about totaling your car, Alex.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So you had said that, you'd hinted at that, and so now you have to tell me what happened, because you guys were both in the accident, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, so we had gone to Breakers.
It was an incredible night of Aurora Borealis viewing.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Like, some of the best Aurora I've seen in my 4 years here.
Yeah, they were great. And I've seen them up like near like McLean and up by Brockway Mountain too, but these were great. Because like at Breakers, it's kind of like they were in all directions. Yeah.
Overhead, over the water.
Yeah, beautiful.
But anyways, we were heading back, and I don't know if you've been to Breakers, but it's very windy and it's very dark, especially after the Aurora goes away. And just came up on a stop sign right there up on 41, and I hit. So the thing is my car was totaled. Like the entire front end swiped off. There was no engine left. It was.
So wait, so you ran a stop sign? Is that what happened, or?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
According to the police, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But so I pulled up. The other vehicle, no damage.
It was actually the trailer. He was pulling like a ATV trailer with a couple of side-by-sides on it, homemade, like made out of like angle iron, and like. So he missed the pickup truck, but the front of the trailer just raked the front corner just raked the entire front end of his car off.
Very fortunate, no one got hurt.
No airbags deployed either, which,
right.
Yeah.
And so this trailer, perfectly fine. The vehicle, perfectly fine. My car, everything in front of the wheel well was
torn off,
gone, million pieces.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Did you have that that moment feeling of like this? Oh my God, this one mistake, and now I'm like gonna die. Like, or like, did you have? Or what kinds of thoughts did you guys have going through your head, like in situ?
It was a lot of like shock. It was like what the fuck just happened, Yeah.
And for me, anyways, I was in the back seat, and it was kind of like slow motion. Like I know it was really half a second or so between when you realize you're about to hit something and the accident happening, but I don't know.
Right.
It felt like way longer than that, and yeah, it was like slow motion.
And one of the things was it was kind of surreal. Like you said, it went slow motion, and then before you know it, it's like you're looking over the front of your car and it's like, where is it? Where'd it go?
Yeah. It's like, now I gotta share my accident story. So, this was like when I was must have been 7th grade, and we had a snow day, and it was with my cousin, and his friend had came over, and so my cousin and I were neighbors, and I went over, and I was watching Star Wars, and in his house, and like his friend came over, and I was just kind of existing there because we were so close. Anyways, and so his friend was really good at skiing. It's like, oh, we should. He had his family had like a garden utility vehicle or something along those lines. It's like, you should put your skis on, and I'll pull you behind us on like the garden utility vehicle. And so we did that.
Like on the roads or like on the
on
land?
the roads, and like he would be like on like the snowbanks on the
Yeah.
side, and so it was so we were pulling them, and my cousin had only been driving for maybe 2-ish years or something, or maybe I can't remember if he was in high school or whatever. And so pulling him around, he was kind of putting on a show. He was a decent skier, and there was a point when we huh?
The leg?
Oh, no, it's not the leg, it's my hand. Yeah, that's
okay.
what muffles it. Yeah, my leg's fine.
Gotcha.
It's my hand that muffles my voice, yeah. So Anders is coaching me. But, no, so we were pulling Jared. He was putting on a show. We were both, like, looking, and, like, Billy, like, wasn't paying attention when he was driving. And we both, like, turned around, and it was, like, a tree, like, right toward us. And it was, like you guys said, it was like in slow motion. It was like, it seemed like there was like 5 seconds like between like us and like actually like hitting the tree, and so we hit the tree. Billy like jammed up his like knees, but my head like went kunk, and Billy was like, Shane, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm all right. And then like all of a sudden blood was like all over my face. And he was like, no, you're not all right. And he like started like panicking, and like the vehicle didn't move anymore. And yeah, but so I had to get like 13 stitches. But so you guys didn't have any injuries from this, like
Nope.
not even like any whiplash or anything along those lines?
Just trauma.
I don't think so.
That's
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. Speaking of snow days,
Yeah.
I feel like we used to get way more of them, like downstate anyways. Like I remember, like maybe it's like just like a decade ago, and there was like there'd be sometimes where we'd have like a week straight of snow days, and I don't know. I feel like winters are way weaker now, especially down like near Metro Detroit. There's like nothing. I feel like we haven't had a real winter like my childhood in like so long.
Right.
It feels like that. Honestly, I pay attention to like what's going on in my hometown, Beaverton, and actually it's never like snow days anymore. It's like ice days. Like there's just like so much ice, but it's never like due to like the volume of snow down south. And
Yeah.
it used to be kind of like that, but not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what, you gonna say something?
No, well, I've noticed that as well. Especially in like the Metro Detroit area,
Yeah.
there's no longer, there's no longer snow. It's just gray, overcast, and 28 degree weather in
For real,
February.
like when we'd be in like elementary, middle school, I mean, you could count on there being a ton of snow, being able to go sledding frequently, and having frequent snow days, like 6 or 7 a semester, basically. But like,
As being a born and raised Michigander, I'm not complaining. Bring on the sun. Bring on the warm weather in bathing suits.
So, speaking of snow, talking about nothing to do with snow. I saw you pull out of your pocket, Anders. You pulled out an EpiPen. I had no idea that, and you're not supposed to. You don't have to disclose that you have allergies, but I'm kind of curious, like, what kind of allergies you have? Because I don't have any allergies, and so I kind of find it fascinating because, like, I find allergies terrifying because it's almost like there's a poison that's specifically now tailored for you. And if you tell somebody that, it's like, hey, don't give me that poison, but also, this is my poison. It's like, there's like that aspect. So I guess you can decide if you want to disclose this to everyone that listens to the podcast, our audience of 20 people.
I think it'll be okay. I have an allergy to peanuts and tree nuts. So a fairly generic one, but it's pretty all-encompassing for a lot of foods. So it's tough, But
What-
yeah.
I almost asked if soy, but soy's bean. I'm an idiot.
No. A lot of times a soy allergy does overlap with a peanut allergy. Peanut is a legume. Actually, it's not a nut, and it's in the same family as soy. So a lot of times it does overlap, or like beans. Like for me, like when I was a kid, maybe I was a little more sensitive to that, but as an adult, I can tolerate beans, soy products just fine. Yeah.
I think I have a peanut allergy. Like,
I feel like you'd know. Or what do you mean?
well, I think I do know because okay, so sometimes it's not a contentious point anymore, but like when I make peanut butter toast, it's like slather like a quarter pound of peanut butter on like each slice of toast, and then I'll eat it, and like not all the time. Sometimes I'll be like, my throat feels funny. Like, and then I'm like, I might have made a mistake. Like, what if this is like that last piece of toast? Because I've heard that allergies are cumulative, right? Like you can like develop allergies, and I'm like, what if this is like the oversized piece of toast that kills me?
Interesting. Yeah, you very well may be allergic mildly to peanuts.
Have
I
you
have
had a brush? Have you had like a brush with like too much peanuts?
Not peanuts, but it was walnuts actually.
Oh man.
And I don't know, it was maybe 10 years ago or so, and I was hanging out at my neighbor's house, and his mom made these breathtaking cookies. Incredible. And they were like chocolate chips something. Yeah. And so we had a couple of them the night before. And then I came over the next day, and there was, a plate of these left, and we were just hanging out. So I'm like, all right, I'll have one. Little did I know, when I left the previous night, she whipped up a batch with walnuts for like the family now that I was gone. And so like I had one, and then a little while later it was pretty obvious that I was having a allergic reaction. But we just went to the hospital, and I was okay.
Gotcha.
Yep.
At any point were you were worried is this it?
No.
Was my doom?
No. Yeah. If I had actually like started to like suffocate, I would have been worried. But like it was okay. Yeah, I wasn't too worried. I got to the hospital pretty quick and had the epinephrine, and all's fine. Other than that, I've not really had any close calls. One time, I was in this farm in Holland, and they had like this
Holland's a pretty place. I like Holland.
Yeah, Holland is nice.
Wait, you mean like
Holland,
the country or Holland,
the country?
Michigan? Oh, I have not been to Holland, the country. Okay, never mind.
Holland, Michigan is also great. Yeah, the tulips are great in both places. Yeah. But in Holland, they had this they have big tulip fields and a bunch of like old farm equipment and windmills. That's sort of like their shtick, I guess.
Yeah.
And I went into this one windmill, and it was actually grinding something. Like it was like a working windmill with two big rotating stones. And I was in there, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? It was like, what are they making? They were making peanut butter in there.
Oh no!
It's like the smell.
Yeah,
it smells like poison.
It's incredible. It was really cool. I didn't have an allergic reaction there, but I feel like that confirmed that I don't have an airborne allergy, because I was literally in like a little tiny room.
Dust.
With like peanut dust. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Having an airborne allergy is totally different. Like for me, no one needs to accommodate me. Like I can just make my own food and be careful. Yeah. It's like people around me can eat nuts. Yeah. I can be in the same house with people eating nuts. It's no problem. But like, I'm lucky in that respect.
Sure. I got another question. And this is for both of you. I'm going to spell a word. Ready? I'm going to spell the word, and I need you to repeat it back to me. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sauna.
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 Is that how you say it? Sauna?
Okay. Sauna. Sauna.
Sauna.
Sauna. I think, sauna.
Yeah, I know it's like some people get like, especially like in this area, like the Keweenaw area, some people get very serious about the pronunciation of the word.
Yeah, I've had people correct me before. That's why I call it sauna now.
Sauna? Yeah. So, what does saunas mean to you guys?
To be candid, it's just a vibe. It means you get to relax and sweat it out with a couple of your friends, and maybe have a beer or two.
Yeah, it's a very relaxing time. It's not like, historically important to my family, but my family, we like built our own sauna, and so we use it very frequently. And then up here, we go to Bohemia every once in a while. They have like the Nordic spa up there. It's incredibly nice. Yeah, and I don't know, it's like pinnacle activity, pinnacle winter activity. It's as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned. It's as close to heaven as you can be on earth.
Yeah, in a sauna.
And you should see the way that this guy does it. 'Cause he'll do like 20 minutes in the sauna, not move at all, chill, and then he'll go straight into the cold plunge, and it's like 30 degrees.
That's honestly the best part is like the shock of going from like the boiling hot, right into the freezing. It's super good.
I've had a student like tell me that before, that like that shock of like that extreme sudden temperature change, like it does something to your body where your body thinks it's dying or something along those lines. Do you feel that at all? Like or not like a dying?
I've heard a lot of stuff about that.
Yeah.
For me, for the most part, it falls into like sort of the pseudoscience realm. Like I'm not cold pool pilled yet.
Yeah.
But it just feels nice. But you can definitely feel like significant changes happening to your like respiratory system. So like when you're in the hot sauna, your heart is pumping. Yeah. All of the blood is at the surface of your skin. You're like almost inflamed, and then you get into the cold pool, and it's all your blood vessels constrict, and your heart rate slows super far down. So I suspect that that's good for you, but I don't know anything other than that.
I'm not a medical doctor.
And you did ask, does it feel like you're dying? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, it does. I've never done it.
But I would recommend it. It does. Everything Anders said is totally true. Feels great.
One day, if you guys have like your own saunas at your house, you'll probably be like considerate of the energy usage. At least I know I am. Like we have like a hot tub and a sauna. And the reason we have a sauna is because it's hard to find a house up here that doesn't have one, kind of. So I found like for me like a sauna is like 25 cents per usage in terms of energy.
Do you have a 6 kilowatt unit?
So, yeah. But like my thing, like why I've never tried that, because like people have told me to try it, but I'm like, that's just wasting a quarter. Like I like build up all this thermal energy so I can go into my house and feel like nice and cozy, and so for me to like undo all of that, it's basically just me taking a quarter, and I value my quarters.
Right.
Fair. Yeah.
Fair parking.
Yeah. Some people have the wood-fired saunas.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work for sure. But I don't know.
Every time you want a sauna, you got to go chop down a tree.
Split it, dry it before every sauna.
It's like a year's worth of work just to get one sauna.
Yeah.
It's winter time now. Like it's kind of here. It's kind of a crappy start to the winter, to be entirely honest, in terms of our Michigan Tech winters. But
for sure, it's all right.
Well, I think this is the first time in December I've ever seen the sun. So
yeah, it's true. It's been very sunny so far.
Yeah. I picked up my like Ripley pass last week, and I asked the person giving them out like, when are you opening? And they're like, oh, December 9th. It's like, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. It's supposed to be like 45 this whole week. Yeah. So I don't know.
To ski on grass.
Yeah, I'm not really hopeful unless they crank up the snow machines, but even then.
Yeah. So what are you guys most looking forward to for both winter and for break?
Well, I would say boho is something, I've skipped out on it the last 3 years because I've been a little scared. I'm not the best skier, but this year I bit the bullet, and I'm excited to do some of that backcountry skiing.
Oh man. So I have not gone to Bohemia yet because I feel like I've talked about this before, but like the older I get, the more scared I am of like downhill skiing. Like the more I'm like, dude, I could totally like break my neck. Like my fear of death is like more and more. It's like grows every day. But yeah, do you have that? Like how long have you been skiing for?
So I've been skiing, I guess on and off since I was probably 10. But it would always be like once a year. I'd visit my grandparents in Colorado, and we'd rent some skis, and I'd take the Bunny Hill. Yeah. But I didn't really start, getting invested into it until my freshman year of college.
So how rugged is Bohemia? Like I haven't, like I said, I haven't been there, and so maybe I'm just making stuff up, or like.
So I've heard Bohemia is one of the tougher hills to do. You know, it's all backcountry, ungroomed, and if you look at the map, they've got like one blue intermediate, and then the rest are black diamonds.
Yeah.
So, you know, the reputation precedes it. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm also most excited about going to Bohemia. I think this is the first year where I actually bought my own snowboard. So I now own my own equipment, so I can go to Bohemia. They don't have rentals or anything there, and up until this point, I've rented equipment my whole life. So I'm able to go to Bohemia finally this year, so hopefully that'll be super fun.
Well, now hold up. Now, talking about equipment, some other equipment that I know is in your repertoire is you have a jet ski, a tiny little jet ski that you pack in the back of your vehicle and bring it to places. Okay. So tell me about that a little bit more.
So I don't know. It's a 1983 Kawasaki.
It's a good year for
stand-up.
jet skis, I hear.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Yeah, people are saying. Yeah, so I bought it over the summer from some guy down in Clio, and I've kind of wanted one for a long time. And they're pretty affordable. They're small, convenient, and they're not too bad on gas. And just, I guess, to set the scene, it's probably not what the listeners are imagining when they hear jet ski or like stand-up jet ski. It's 6 feet long, and it's about 220 to 230 pounds full of gas. So it's super light, and you can't sit on it. You can't kneel on it. You have to be like dragged behind it in the water and then stand up on it. So it's, I don't know. I've wanted one for a while, and it's a lot easier to get into financially than like full-size jet ski. So I ended up pulling the trigger. It's like I'm only going to be 23 once. So I'm only going to get older, and it's only going to become more dangerous, or I'm going to have more to live for. So, you know.
Get your stupid stuff out of the way now.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, it fits in the back of my car. So I fold down the seats, and you can just hoist it up in the back. That's how I bought it. I didn't have a trailer or anything. So I just drove up to the guy's house, bought it, and
Put your seats down.
yeah, I told him I'd give him an extra $15 if he helps me load it in the car.
Nice.
And he did, so, yeah.
I kind of, Alex, do you have any curious objects? Because, like, what I'm kind of thinking is it would be interesting to do a survey of, like, how many curious objects are owned by, like, tech students. 'Cause I kind of find, like, that, like, 1980s something like smaller jet ski is a curious object. But, like, do you own anything?
So I don't have anything quite as cool as a jet ski.
Yeah.
The Rosemount 3051.
I was going to say, so I have a Rosemount 3051S pressure transmitter sitting as a paperweight in my room.
Okay. What does that mean?
It is an industrial pressure transmitter, flow transmitter, level transmitter. It's got a blast-proof case, so it's explosion-proof. And it's used for taking measurements on process lines, and then going back to what's called a DCS, which is a
Distributed control system.
Distributed control system.
So is this like one of those sensors, or like this unit's like that's like on the order of like $10,000 or something along those lines?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So it when it's new, I think the new price is about $4,000. But this one is from like the 80s. So after they'd taken it out, I'd acquired it.
Yeah, it's okay, so they just take it out, and they were probably going to throw it away, I take it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it had two so the way it works is it's a differential pressure unit, and so you have two diaphragms that measure the pressure on each side, and when it goes through a manifold, you can measure the difference in pressure, which can allow you to know flow. If you have it hooked to the top of a tank and the bottom of a tank, you can measure the level, so the two diaphragms had been damaged, so it's no longer operating.
It's not super useful.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like you need to repair it, and you need to do something like really stupid with it. Like, I don't know, like, you should like accurately measure how much milk goes into your cereal or something along those lines by pouring through it.
Oh, I think it would only be useful if it measured in gallons. If I use milk in gallons per second.
Yeah, I think. I don't know, when I think about cereal, I think about, I had this teacher in high school. He was like we went to our community college, and so he taught at the community college, and so it was like I can't remember what it was. It was like they called them CTE classes, but anyways, and I remember him telling me this story about his high school had a talent show, and some guy's talent. He showed up. He had a sombrero. He had a massive bowl and a full thing of Cheerios, like a box of Cheerios. He filled up the bowl with Cheerios, and his talent was he just like sat there and like ate them. And he didn't even...
Was it like an incredible amount of Cheerios?
Well, yeah, so it was a large... But the thing is, he didn't even eat the whole thing. He just like ate like 5 spoonfuls and decided he was done. And so that was like the whole thing. He also had a sombrero. Like that was like the pitch, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you mentioned doing something stupid with equipment.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a work in progress, but I also have a 1/3 horsepower industrial motor.
Oh, yeah.
That's 120.
Like an electric motor.
Yep. So it runs it's 1760 RPM, and it runs 1/3 of a horsepower at 120 volts.
Yeah.
And so, I just need to find somewhere to hook this up where it won't blow the fuse.
Yeah.
And,
Do you have any ideas for things you might want to do with that?
Now that you mentioned, we've been talking about cereal, I think I would like to make like an automatic cereal scooper.
Yeah.
And
it
then,
just like launches cereal in your face.
And then I can have the rose mount measure the flow of the cereal.
You get a whole cereal eating process.
I'm thinking like a super overkill desktop fan.
Oh, with metal
and it
blades
makes
to
you
the
go
front
bald. It blows so hard.
Well, it'd be too fast to have plastic blades, so we need some sharp metal ones.
Yeah.
Like something from like a lawnmower.
And yeah, it can act as like a carrot cutting device too.
Oh yeah.
Or
just feed a
fingernail cutter.
Oh god, that's terrifying. Yeah, I've seen people like use like belt sanders to like file their fingernails. Or actually, like the worst.
Getting calluses or something.
Yeah, like playing guitar, I get these calluses on the tips, so I can just sand them down. But like, it also like the stupidest use of a tool I'd seen as an undergrad. There was a student who was on like the race team with me, and he would religiously clean his ears with his jackknife. And so he would like scrape stuff up, and I'm like, "Are you serious right now?"
Like the blade?
Yeah, like the blade, like the actual blade. And he's like, "What? It does a good job scraping stuff off." And I'm like, "Yeah, you could also, impale your brain with it." Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah.
So let's talk about something deep. Students at Tech, everyone has something that they're dealing with. And before I get to the really deep stuff, I'm going to ask a more general question. And that general question is, Alex, are you about to graduate too?
Yep, so I'll graduate in May.
Okay, so, and then this is Andrew's last semester, and you've got one more semester. So, looking back, what is the worst mistake? This is the question for both of you, but what's the worst mistake that you've made? Like in your college career, or series of mistakes? Like, what did that look like?
Okay, I think I know this one. So this was when I was going to community college, and so I was working at the time, and so what was convenient for me class-wise was driving out to a location for night school as few times a week as possible. So when I was taking Calc 3, or when I was going to take it, there were like 2 class options. They had like a Tuesday, Thursday, 5 to 7 or something like that, or a Wednesday, 5 to 9 p.m. And foolishly at the time, I thought, oh great, I'll just do the Wednesday one. I only have to drive out there once a week, just get it all done one blow. It honestly was more convenient for like working and whatnot. But I realized my mistake when I sat down for a 4-hour final exam, and realized that if I had just taken the 2-hour session, it would have been impossible for him to give us this 4-hour exam. That was by far the hardest class I've ever taken.
What class was it?
Calc 3, taught by Professor...
We don't have to name names.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Lips are sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, was it a hard class. And the exams were 4 hours and super difficult.
Did you get like a bathroom break or like a eat potato chips break?
Oh, God, yeah. And so going to community college, there was like a ton of people there in like all age ranges. Yeah. So there's like, working professionals trying to get a degree. And there was also a 6th grader in my Calc 3 class.
What?
Which
No way.
Yeah,
They're killing it.
He turned 13 while we were in the class.
Oh my God.
Did you
And
guys throw a birthday party?
we did. We didn't. That would have been a great idea. But so he was a savant at math, of course, and it was crazy because I'd be there, sweating my ass off for this hard calc exam. 2 hours in, we get our break and we go out to get water or whatever, and his mom's there with like a Capri Sun and like and like goldfish crackers, and I'm there just just like fighting for my life, and it was disheartening, but it was great to see someone doing so well. It was funny, but yeah, that was in terms of courses I've taken, biggest mistake.
I hope he's doing well.
I bet he is.
Did you find him on LinkedIn?
I haven't.
You need to find him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
know. He'd be, 16 years old now, probably?
Yeah, something like that.
Harvard class of 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already graduated
Gotta get a
college.
PhD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So what about you, Alex?
the worst thing,
The biggest mistake?
biggest mistake.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, I'm an avid mountain biker. I really enjoy mountain biking. My freshman year, I went out to Mount Brockway, which is a huge, very popular mountain biking area in the UP.
It's like world famous, kind of, isn't
It
it?
is. And I love mountain biking. I'm not the best mountain biker. And the people I went with were probably some of the best mountain bikers. I know for sure. And so we had gone down this triple black diamond called the Flying Squirrel. And after
Triple
this
black diamond.
and after this incident, they actually redid the entire trail. So I'd like to take credit for that. But
This isn't going to end with the front of your bike getting sheared off, is it?
no, my bike was fine.
Okay. Okay.
So we go down this hill, and I'm already riding the brakes. This is more than I'm ready for. And we end up taking a jump, and people are flying by me. So I'm at the very back, taking my time with the grandma gear on. And I hit a jump, and I case it, which is when the back tire of your bike hits the landing part of the jump. And so I'd cased it, and I'd lost my balance a little bit, probably going around 25 miles an hour downhill.
Oh.
And I had, on one side, I had two options to fall. There was one side that went down the mountain, and there's the other side, which is the sheer part of a cliff. And so I went off to the right, ended up catching a root in my leg. Bike went flying down the mountain, and I was floating on this root.
Oh my God.
And the story you told earlier actually reminded me of that. He's not okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
no.
I
You
called
thought you were
out.
fine?
I thought I was fine until I like stood up, and then I was like, I can't stand on this leg. And so I start yelling out for my buddies, and one of my friends, Caleb, comes up, and I hear from down the mountain, "Is Beltz okay?" Caleb goes, "Beltz is not okay."
Oh no. Wow.
And I ended up getting 137 stitches.
Holy.
Oh.
It was 3 layers deep, and
Yeah.
I had to
So
drop.
like it impelled like your muscle and all that
Yep,
stuff?
yep. Missed the bone, but you could see the bone. Didn't hit an artery, which was amazing. Very fortunate. But yeah, so I ended up having to drop my Chem 1 lab, and then
Dang.
I'm taking it finally now
Oh, nice.
as a senior.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But
Somebody just oh no, a camera just disconnected. What the heck?
uh-oh.
What do I do? Oh no. We're just gonna have to stick to this camera for the rest of the time. That's weird. Yeah, worst mistakes. I wonder what the worst mistake I made. I mean, yeah, how many classes did I technically fail during my entire my undergrad and grad? Probably like 3 classes.
I had heard there's a professor that failed you.
Huh?
I heard there's modern comms, was it?
Well, so I didn't do my undergrad here, so I didn't take modern comms here.
Okay.
I don't want to get into too many specifics.
Sure.
But that is a very fair and valid question, and yes, so I did fail a class here in graduate school, and it was actually quite terrifying because, are you kidding me? My phone never rings. So God, this is just so many technical difficulties. anyways, yeah. So my very first semester here, I was funded as a TA. I was funded as a TA, and I was taking 2 classes, and then I was doing research. Right, it was a pretty typical graduate student load, and I was TAing classes. And yes, I was taking one of these classes that I was just having a hard time in, and so what's for grad school, what's considered failing is a C, and so I got a C in the class, and so that was a failure. And that was actually extremely terrifying for me because this is my first semester at the school, and I had gotten a C, which put my GPA, put me on academic probation like the very first semester I was here, and so I was like terrified because we just moved up here. I had my at that point now was my wife Sarah, and I was like, so I going through that class, I was so freaked out like near the end that like my other class I didn't even like study for like the final because like dude, I'm screwed, like this is it, I'm toast, like I'm gonna fail this class, they're gonna drop my funding and I'll be like gone. Yeah, so I suppose the lesson there is that those sorts of things can happen and you can still like bounce back, because now I'm like a professor that has an office like where I used to like right down the hall from where I used to study a lot, like so it's crazy. Yeah. So I think like the important takeaway is like failing a class isn't like the end of the world. Like it just like my views of failure have like have changed a lot. Like at that point I was like, dude, failure is like the worst possible thing that can happen to you. But now it's just like, and that's what I tell my students too, is like failing like an exam or an assignment, all it is like a signal. Like it's a signal that you did all you need to do. It doesn't really imply anything about you other that you should like learn stuff better, for the most part. I mean, the professor that fails you does sometimes have something to answer for, not all the time, but sometimes. So yeah.
And so you've had a lot of professors here that you worked under that now you're colleagues of. And I was wondering what that's like.
Yeah, it's rough because I shouldn't say it's rough. I for the most part I like all my colleagues, but it's interesting because I'm not like a top-notch student. Like I've never been like a very good student, and so all the people that I had as professors know how like kind of dumb I can be like at times, but there's also it's a double-edged sword because I also know exactly how they are as professors, right? And so I do understand that. Yeah, and it's kind of I don't know, it might just be like an imposter syndrome thing or like a perception thing, but sometimes I do kind of feel like I might be viewed as like the kid in the department, just because like I was like the student here and I was a TA, I'm like teaching. And I mean, I'm okay with that if people do think that, because I mean, it is kind of true, and I do I'm probably the least professional out of like all the PE faculty, maybe not, I don't know, but and not saying like I should just say or clarify that I have different views on what is acceptable behavior for being a professor. Like I don't have to hold myself in a certain regard or things along those lines. So yeah. What now I'm gonna turn the question back around to you. How do you describe a good professor? Let's start with Alex. Like, what's a good professor mean to you?
A good professor, in my eyes, is someone who would go the extra mile to make sure you understand the material. Obviously, grades are important, but I value much more a professor that like I can look back and say I remember learning this. Information down the line where it's like, yeah, you might have gotten a B or like a C plus, but you feel like you have a strong understanding of what was taught. And I think that comes down to like material supplied. I think the more effort a professor puts into having like study material and resources to go to really is beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gotcha. What do you think, Anders?
I tend to agree with that. I think like the best professors are the ones that make it so you don't dread attending class, because then you'll actually go and you'll pay attention and you'll learn the material. If they give a passionate lecture and it's clearly something that they care about, then it's great. You can be teaching whatever. It could be a horrible class otherwise, but you're going to attend it. You're going to remember what it is you were taught. And I think that's the most important part. Because, I mean, every once in a while you encounter like research professors who have a teaching requirement, if you know what I'm saying. And it's like, it's a very dispassionate sort of engagement with the students where their main focus is doing the research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that's tough because there could be a big opportunity with research professors that are teaching, because like one of like the things that is somewhere in our contract or something along those lines is like, as a teacher you're supposed to like use lessons that you get in your research and build them into your curriculum, right? Because that's like showing like the stuff you're doing in research should be cutting edge, and so that's putting your students out there with that cutting edge advantage too. And so we'd hope that research professors would be doing that the best because they've got the most research. But I get, right, the research demands, in my opinion, are much more stringent than like teaching demands, because like research, you got to have your grants and there's all these deadlines, where teaching, it's easier to have that, like, not invest as much in it and still check the box.
I feel like also in regards to making like lesson plans, writing a lab, or like making slides, I have never taught a class, so this is speculative, but it seems like sometimes it's more convenient to reuse a previous instructor's teaching materials and just recycle those and read off their slides, for lack of a better word, when you're teaching their class. I think that can sometimes compromise like the quality of the education you're getting, and especially if the labs are ancient, written by someone else, and they could be, they're in desperate need of being revitalized.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's difficult to rewrite all of the lesson plans. That's an enormous undertaking and something that you definitely don't want to do every semester or if you pick up a new class. But I think that it's very evident that it's a higher quality education when the professor is teaching off of their own course materials than someone else's.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things I've noticed too, and this isn't directed towards any specific professor, but I've noticed on some exams, like the questions will have different fonts and like have different.
You can tell something's been copied.
Yeah, like it's been copied from other sources, and that it shows. You might learn from one textbook that year, and then you'll have these homework assignments, and then the exam will look completely different because it'll be from another textbook produced 20 years ago, or it'd be nice if all professors like took the time to write their own homework questions and exam questions, so that there's some similarity, some sort of linearity to it.
Yeah. But then when our professors are going to have time to do stupid stuff like record podcasts?
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Time for that. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. There's a lot that goes into like putting together a class, obviously, and like even like my digital logic, like I still teach off some like old stuff, and that's the other thing. Like, in fact, I encourage it. If students want to talk crap about me, that's entirely fine. They can criticize my teaching, but I also want to say, and I'll look right in the camera, that there's nothing a student can say to me that I already haven't said to myself like 5 inches away from the mirror. Like, I'm 100% glaringly obvious of every mistake I make in class. And like, and you guys have probably seen it before, where like I've like while I'm teaching, like I'll like have like a hiccup, and I'll be like, everyone just talk crap about me for a second. Let me figure this out. I'm like, have I done that in your classes before?
I've seen the behavior, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, yeah, I don't really get nervous talking in front of people, and especially like students. But like, there are some times that I'm like, going through something. I'm like, I don't remember how to do this, and then you become really conscious of like, they all know now that I like am having trouble, and then it was like this big cycle of like, they know that I'm starting to get nervous, and then, yeah, it's a. But I guess that's what I get paid for, is to deal with that stuff. So,
Do you ever get any like hostile engagements with students in office hours?
That's a good one.
Hostile engagements with students, not really. I mean, as you can see, I try and keep a typically cozy environment in here, and I think like. So there's only been one instance where I've been nervous, and that's a student was it doesn't, for me, it doesn't happen every semester, but there are some semesters where someone will come in and it's the conversation that I think I'm going to fail the class. And there's one instance where a student came and he kept his hand in his Carhartt pocket the entire time.
Oh, like a...
Yeah, and so I was like nervous the entire time because I could tell like the kid was like sweating. Because it can seem very impactful if you fail a class. And yeah, I was like nervous the entire time. And so now like, yeah, my strategy is like here, you should hold this Rubik's Cube or something along those lines just so I can like pay attention. Yeah, it sucks that that's like the world that we live in. Like I'm like worried about those sorts of things. But
You've got the bigger gun at the end of the day.
I do have the cannon now.
No, you're prepared.
Yeah.
That is spooky.
It's a statement
That
piece.
is spooky.
Yeah. So, Anders, I want to ask. You brought up the idea, or you on a little pre-interview thing. You said something substantial is dealing with family members with dementia, and so now I have to ask. Like, I know like my grandparents. I've had some that have had like memory loss and problems along those lines, but it's never been. I've never like experienced like advanced stages of it, and so what's that like for you? What's the story? I don't really know much about it.
So, my grandpa is, he's afflicted with dementia, and it's gotten significantly worse in the past year.
Oh man.
And
How old?
75 or so.
That's still reasonably.
It's fairly advanced in age,
Yeah.
but he's still young, and he was fairly spry up until a couple of years ago, and I guess what's hardest about it for me is being filled with regret that I didn't spend more time to cultivate a relationship with him while I could.
Yeah.
Because it feels like almost now it's too late.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes, he doesn't even remember who you are. And that's
Yeah.
tough. And that's
Yeah.
tough. And like looking back, it's like I could have gone over to visit more often. I could have spent
Yeah.
more time with him. I could have had a better relationship with him than I did. And it's too late now. So that's the hardest part for me. People age and they end up dying, but it's more like the regret of what could have been.
Yeah.
And there's of course, there's no real point in having regrets, but
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part.
Those feelings are still valid though. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And he's lucky to have a incredible wife who loves him
Yeah.
very much and takes care of him.
So he's well supported. Still living at home.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. So how is your grandma? How is your grandma handling things? Or because I have to imagine.
I
like,
think
if
it's pretty hard.
If it's tough for you, it's gonna
so
be
it's-
mega tough for her.
It's definitely mega tough for her. It's like basically, it's taking care of two people.
Yeah.
And it's at the point now where she's been considering for a while, like I don't know if you'd call it palliative care, but like
Yeah.
nursing home,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. and it's like, it's probably that time,
Yeah.
but that's super hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not envy her.
Yeah. So what's the messaging to everyone listening?
The most important thing in your life are the relationships you have with other people, and so it's worth spending time cultivating those relationships before it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the relationships that you want to pursue too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's a thing that I'm experiencing on my in-laws' side is like they're just not good people, and so like my wife is like recently like completely cut off like all behavior because like the relationships were always like purely toxic, and so so not to like I was basically just an amendment to your statement there, like, but yeah, you should totally you're totally right, like the relationships are like the most important things that you'll ever have, because your careers may change, you know, your locations may change and all that stuff, but those relationships that you have with your friends and family are like, you know,
relatively constant compared to the rest of everything that's going on. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for you. Now to completely have like this like step function and like really like downer to would you rather have hands that are 4 sizes too big or feet that are 4 sizes too big? So I'm saying like multiply your hand size by 3, or feet that are multiplied by 3 or 4.
Hands 100%.
Yeah?
I mean, what do you gain by having bigger feet? You can swim a little better, maybe, unless they're like grossly oversized and your ankle's still the same size, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? But like, if you had hands that were 4 times as big, that just improves your capabilities for the most part.
What? No.
I mean,
okay, hold
maybe
Xbox
not,
controller.
maybe not fine motor
something.
skills. Maybe not fine motor skills, but
like, what does that make you better at? Giving people high fives?
dodgeball, basketball.
Dodgeball, your hands are bigger targets, though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think having bigger tools would be better than having bigger paddles.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
does having bigger feet also mean you have bigger legs?
No.
So just like clown feet.
That's right. Exactly right.
Well, you know, I think it'd be a little awkward in photos, you know, if you had hands that big, you know.
Where do you put them?
Yeah, like what do you do with them? Like
Pockets don't work anymore.
pockets.
one finger in a pocket.
You can't even put them behind you because they'll be poking out. I feel like at least feet you can like cut them.
Yeah.
Or like not cut them, like cut them out of the photo.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, it would essentially be like those foam, like, #1 hands. Like, those would be your hands.
But they would be fully articulate and, you know, have muscle and, I don't know.
I feel like you'd have to become, like, a masseuse, maybe. So you could, like...
Oh, yeah, I wonder if you'd, like, if you could be better at basketball, you know?
Maybe.
Basketball players have huge hands.
They do.
Yeah.
But
You?
I think, honestly, like... Oh, so something I'm, like, super sensitive, this is, like, a small, like, teacher thing, is I use a document camera a lot. And I try to be as sensitive as possible, like actually like the angle, and I think it like actually like hurts my wrist now, like because I try and like keep my hand like away from like what I just wrote.
Sure. Are you right-handed?
Yeah.
That helps for sure.
And so if my hand was like the entire size of like this sheet of paper, that would be like really debilitating for my job.
You'd have to work on the whiteboards at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I would probably, but then like walking around like, you know, I like prowl back and forth when I'm teaching with like giant feet, like. I feel like you just trip all the time.
Right. You could never run again.
Yeah.
And it'd probably, when you're walking down the hall, it'd go boom.
Like everyone would know.
Boom.
You know what they say about big feet, though, right?
No.
Big socks.
Big shoes.
Big shoes. Yeah, that's right. You gotta tackle that too.
Yeah, that might be a case for big feet. Yeah. You could dress up in a gorilla costume and then you'd be Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah.
You could be Bigfoot.
The actual Bigfoot. Do you guys think there's a Bigfoot?
No.
No. Okay. 100% no. Okay. Yeah. I'm not a believer. It's like one of those things. Like I wish I could believe it. Like I wish that like I could have that like sort of whimsical belief, but I just there's a book that I'm really looking forward to reading. It's by Carl Sagan. Do you guys know Carl Sagan?
Mm-hmm. I don't.
Oh, so if you don't know, you should Google Carl Sagan. So so the Cosmos series.
Okay, the physicist guy.
Yeah. So not Neil deGrasse Tyson, but
the guy with the gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Carl Sagan, he wrote this book. I can't remember what it's named, but it's about like, it's like a candle in the dark, I think it's called, and it's about like how like science like can illuminate like, and fight against like pseudoscience and stuff along those lines. And so, so it's his views on that, and so I'm really looking forward to reading that. And I hope he brings up Bigfoot so we can talk about science and Bigfoot.
That does sound interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any conspiracy theory that you full-heartedly believe in? Anything you're like, this? There's no way this is a conspiracy.
Oh man, there's one that I do believe. I just can't think of it right now. There's totally a conspiracy theory that I do prescribe to. I don't remember what it is, so it's like really like niche. I'll have to think about it. I can't remember. If it pops back to my memory, I'll bring it up. What about you?
I think there's something fishy about JFK.
You think so?
I don't think it was.
Do you think the CIA did it, like a lot of people say, or?
I think there is another party involved. I don't know who exactly, but the fact that it took him over 50 years to come out with all the information that had been classified was a little suspicious. But,
interesting.
I don't know. What do you think of that?
I am not informed enough about it to make an opinion, probably. So I know there's like the thing that like couldn't find the bullet or something along those lines, and so I remember I think MythBusters had a thing about like using like an ice bullet.
I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah. So there's one of those things that like people. So, people want to believe that the world is more interesting than it is. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And so, like,
definitely,
just because someone like hated JFK and like shot him or hated what he like stood for or something, like, some people, and not to discredit like your feelings on it, but like, I think like some people just think like, no, there's this thing that's unexplained, and so that means that there must be something deeper. And I'm not saying that there isn't something deeper there, because like I said, I have no clue. That's just a thing that I think of is like, usually that's like kind of the Occam's razor approach. Like usually like the simplest explanation is right. But yeah, I don't really have any views on it, unfortunately.
And I'm not even saying like it was some huge conspiracy that involved the CIA and FBI.
You're just saying there's something else.
It could have been Cuba, right? It could have been some spy, and then the government covers it up because they don't want to get involved in something greater than what needs to happen.
Yeah.
But it's things like that, and then just the fact that they weren't totally transparent is a little, when all the information isn't revealed, there's going to be gaps, and it makes people wonder why are there gaps.
Yeah.
But how about you, Anders? Is there any conspiracy theory or the Egypt pyramids? Is it aliens or?
I mean, I don't. Not really that I can think of. I don't know. I don't really think right now.
Okay.
Yeah. God, I wish I could remember mine. I do know it's not a conspiracy theory at all, but it just popped into my head, and funny. So like the first guest on the show, Dr. Jared Wolf, told me about this, and it like blew my mind. And I'm not sure if it's fully scientifically proven or whatever, but like you always like wonder like like in school you learn about like the Bering Strait and like the like in Alaska, what's the land bridge name? Like connected Russia and Alaska. I can't remember the name. Thank God I'm not a geography professor. But anyways, so like humans, and there was ice and all that stuff, and humans had like crossed over, and there's like, well, how come there's not like an even distribution? If that existed, like, why is there not like you would expect like over time there would be like a consistent trickle through there. Of course, there's like the ice and the conditions, but he was telling me about this when we were in this museum in Chicago, there's this like massive, it's like a flat-nosed bear type thing that can run the speed of a horse and is like the size of a bear, and it existed in like the Bering Strait area, and it would hunt humans. Like it would like specifically hunt humans apparently.
That's terrifying.
And so there's this like this bear that can run as fast as a horse that lives like predominantly in this area, and so like to think like that is one of like the things that had stopped humans from like pushing more into the Americas was like there's this like almost like terror bear.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. That's something that humans, at least modern humans, aren't used to, is being prey for some animal.
yeah.
I thought that would be terrifying. Yeah.
I had a dream just last night about someone bringing lions into my house. I was like, are they friendly lions? Like that like makes a difference. I was like, are they friendly? Yeah. What's the weirdest dreams you guys have ever had?
Oh boy. This is a recurring dream I have.
Oh,
and
man.
It's really bizarre. I guess I'll talk about it.
Okay.
So, it's always me, and then there's one other person there, and it's always some very powerful female political figure, like Nancy Pelosi or Hillary
not
Clinton.
consistently, okay.
Yeah, it's different. I am strapped to like a dental chair, and they're removing my teeth. And that is that.
What?
Yep.
That's bizarre.
And I've had the dream like 4 or 5 times, and I always wake up very quickly from it.
Yeah.
But it's like a room with just a floor, no walls that I can see, some source of light, but I can't see it, and then I'm restrained, and then it's Hillary Clinton removing my teeth or something like that.
That is the
It's
most
horrible and recurring, and that's an easy answer for that question.
That's the most
really
bizarre recurring dream. Because like I have recurring dreams too, but it's like always like, oh, I have to go back to high school. Like I have to go back to high school like every like 5 dreams. It seems like.
I get that one maybe once a year.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's such a niche like
Yeah.
dream.
I don't know. And I'm not about to Sigmund Freud it and like.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, have you
but,
ever
like,
tried to dissect it and think of
no.
like where that came from?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to go down that path.
No.
We're not pulling that string.
Yeah.
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 Do you have a fear of the dentist?
No.
You just-
No. Yeah. Maybe like a repressed one, but like not. No, I don't think so.
It's very interesting.
So what about your dreams, Alex? Anything particularly weird?
Nothing that jumps out to me.
No.
You know, I don't really remember my dreams.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big dreamer. You know.
Yeah, I like I'll go through periods where I like pay attention to them more, and the more you pay attention to them, the more you're like able to like remember like.
You know, I think I've heard that. Like, if you do like a dream journal, you'll start being able to recall them like way better.
Yeah. There's you guys ever heard of Mitch Hedberg? He's a comedian that gave like these really like short form jokes. He would probably be excellent in like the time of TikTok, but I think he died of an overdose. Anyway, he gives this joke that's like it's like I find going to sleep exhausting because you have to dream. I want to rest, but instead I have to build a go-kart with my ex-landlord. And it's like it's pretty funny. But like yeah, he would always give like really short jokes. Like that would be his whole stand-up is like barely like 5-sentence stories, and they'd always be like really funny. Like I wanted to go to the store to buy a candle holder. I couldn't find one, so I bought a cake. And like that's like the whole joke. Yeah.
What's his name? Mitch?
Mitch Hedberg. Yeah, you watch him on YouTube, and you can. It's just like a bunch of like 3-line jokes. Really funny.
That is funny. Yeah.
So I think we're kind of actually pushing an hour here, so I should probably ask the final question. So final question is, what is an album that you guys recommend? 2 separate albums. So what should people be listening to?
I think if you haven't heard it, you should listen to Hot Rats by Frank Zappa.
I've never gotten into Zappa. There's only one song that I like have really gotten into him. It's like the Muffin Man, and I just kind of thought it was like funny. But like, yeah, I just
His music, it's very bizarre. He's incredibly versatile. He's basically touched every every genre of music, and he's a prolific songwriter, composer. Yeah. Hot Rats is a good intro to him, and I don't know, it's one of his more highly regarded albums. If you haven't checked it out, I'd recommend it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was wondering if I could break the rules here and say a song instead.
Sure, go for it.
So there's a song called "I Love My Chair." It's by a band called Prince and the Peach.
Oh my God.
And I really think it's a beautiful song. It's actually got some history with Michigan Tech, so I think it's definitely worth a listen.
Interesting. How does it have history with Michigan Tech, or what's the?
There's a professor at the university.
Is it over in the math department?
The bassist is highly regarded from this band.
Okay.
And may or may not be a professor in the electrical engineering department.
Any idea?
No.
Well, I don't want to name names.
Okay.
But...
Oh, was it Tim Havens? No.
You know what? I think Schultz is also in a band.
Really?
But it's not him. It's another mystery professor.
Oh.
You'll have to listen and find out.
Oh, is it Tony?
It is Tony.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Wait, is it on Spotify?
It is.
Oh, I've never listened to Tony's stuff. I'm gonna have to hunt it down.
We should do it for the outro. Play it for the outro.
Yeah. Well, there's like a licensing thing. That I looked into it. And, there's like this myth. Like if you use less than 20 seconds, it's okay or something. But there's actually no okay amount to use actual copyright material.
One chord.
So, yeah.
50 copyright strikes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but maybe Tony will give me permission. I don't know. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being locked in my office. We're here with Alex and Anders, flopped around there.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You
got it. And keep it real.
Awesome.